Welcome back to the show. So today, I wasn't really planning on shooting a video today just because I was out and about and I had an appointment somewhere, and then after my appointment I decided to go look for books in a used bookstore, as I sometimes do. And I went to this one place and this one bookstore, and it's not really a bookstore that I go through a lot because I'm like, oh, they're not a comic book place normally, and I was like, okay, they don't normally do comics. I'll go through and look at it, and um, and the reason I titled this something to the effect of "Hunt for Comic Books Anywhere" is because, or always be ready to hunt for comics. That is the title I'm probably going to put on this one, because I went through there, and as I was about to walk out, I saw two boxes of comic books on top of a shelf, and I was like, oh, okay. Usually when people put out comic books in a bookstore, uh, especially a bookstore by the name of the bookstore was called Artifacts of History. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go through and I'll see if there's any keys in there, if there's anything that interests me. So I went through and I kind of went through one at a time, saw books, and I'm like, okay, there's some stuff in here. And I saw a total of 4 keys that I could identify, and I bought 3 of them. The one is a key I'm not super interested in, so I just left it there. I was like, that's not really for me. I'm just gonna leave it here. But the 3 books I found were pretty good. They might be sent off to be graded because I'm fairly intrigued. I think the best key, or the most valuable key in this set I bought, I will probably have graded eventually. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might be in the future. But the first book is Micronauts #1. I believe this would be the first appearance of the Micronauts, but it's most notable for the first appearance of that guy right there. He's the Bug. Now the Bug, it would probably be written off as just a one-off. Oh, okay, this character appeared and then did nothing afterwards. But this character actually did stuff afterwards. The Bug has actually appeared on some modern iterations of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So that is why the Bug is. It's probably the most notable thing about Micronauts #1. Another book, and it's from the same run, is Micronauts #8. This would be the first appearance of Captain Universe. It's that guy right there, the guy in the blue. Now, Captain Universe, the thing I thought was funny when I was walking away, and I didn't notice it right away, is right there in the corner, there's a cross through that barcode. And you're like, and I was walking away, I'm like, oh crud, someone defaced this book. Who would put a cross through a barcode? But I looked at the issues, and the funny thing about Micronauts #8, and maybe it happened in other Marvel books, is they all have crosses through the barcode for some reason. I don't know why. Couldn't tell you what they were thinking about crosses with the barcode. I would imagine it would make it easier to scan. I honestly, I don't know. It's weird that they put that there. But so this is again the first appearance of Captain Universe. Outside of Bug, he's probably another character that shows up. I'm more familiar with I don't know a lot about Captain Universe. I just know he shows up. I think people gain his powers and then they're super like powerful. They're super strong when they gain Captain Universe powers. Like I think Spider-Man gained his powers once and beat the crap out of the Hulk. I really need to read that. But the most valuable book, the Captain Universe first appearance, is a pretty valuable book. But the spine doesn't look like it's in the best shape. It still looks passable. This one looks really good, and people are going to tell me like, "Oh, you bought this for a specific reason," and I'm like, I bought it because, oh, I'll explain it later after I show you. And this is why it's important to know what keys look like. Most of the keys, I mean, it's impossible to learn what every key looks like, but this is the Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16. This would be the first appearance of Captain Marvel, the Monica Rambeau Captain Marvel. I think she appeared as Monica Rambeau in a previous book, but this is her becoming Captain Marvel for the first time. So this is a fairly sought after book. Now you're probably going to say, oh, you're only interested in it because of, you're only in it for the money. Because the Marvels are coming out, I believe, next month. That movie's coming out. And I can assure you I'm not in it for the money. If I were into comic books for the money, I would have already failed because I've obviously spent more money than I've ever made selling books because I haven't sold any books. Not any single issues anyway. So, I'm also not going to criticize people who would buy this book solely to sell it later. I'm not going to criticize people for doing that because, if you're hunting down comic books and you're enjoying hunting down comic books, it shouldn't matter what you do with the comic books after you've hunted them down. There's guys who like to collect them just to read them as they were originally printed. There are guys who build their whole stock portfolio on comic books. Like, oh, I'm going to sell this a rare comic book, and I'm going to make a nest egg for my retirement. And then there's lots of reasons why people collect comic books, and I never really question why they do it, because as long as they're enjoying it, they're not doing it wrong. If you have a hobby that you enjoy, you're not doing it wrong. If you have a hobby where you hate it and it's more of a if you have a hobby that irritates you and makes you angry, then you're doing it wrong. You should either get out of the hobby or find enjoyment, or find what you loved about that hobby in the first place. And that's what it's like that with any hobby I do. I love the hobbies I do, and I believe that people will say it's a waste of time and money, but if you wake up every day and you're excited to go do that, it's never a waste of time or money. So, that said, it was a fairly fun comic book hunting trip that just came out of nowhere because I wasn't even looking for comics, but I found them. And they were actually pretty good. On the first appearance of Captain Marvel, I don't when I collect comic books, it's never about, oh, what are they doing in a movie? I do it because it's hunting down a comic book. That's fun for me. I don't look at a character and say, oh, they're going to be in a movie next month. I usually don't do that because um, to me it rarely ever matters because the characters from the movies are different than they are in the books. I think the only characters where I actually did hunt them down after I saw their movie was like Big Hero 6. And that movie just came out of nowhere. I think it took everyone by surprise. But that said, that about does it. Just picked up 3 key books. One of them being a book that's applicable in a couple months, next month. Again, I don't see how it matters that the movie matters that much to the value of the book because the character's cool without the movie. So that's it. I'm probably going to get 1 or 2 of these graded. It's some pretty interesting books I picked up. Other than that, that should about cover it. So now that I went through, you can actually go out there, and if you see these 3 books, you'll know that they're worth picking up if you like to hunt down books like I do. That said, that should be about it. Well, have a good day, everyone.